Guys, it's me, Alan. I'm back with another video. Yes, I know I'm late with part 7 of Road to Revenge. That's this video here. I've been busy, but I did promise I was going to do a part 7 as I continue along with the pay-per-views. So, that's what this video is going to be. If you haven't caught up by now, if you don't know what's going on, please make sure to check out parts 1 through 6. There's a whole playlist on the channel with that. I'll have that linked in the description. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on future videos and streams. And with that being said, we now take a look at Road to Revenge, Part 7, Crown Jewel. The story between Alexa and Charlotte continues. Now, a few things I want to get out of the way now. Alexa is not going to be in Saudi in this booking. I'm kind of playing it safe because it's the whole. I mean, look, yes, at real life, we saw what happened at Crown Jewel. Bray was there. They did the whole. They continued his thing with Uncle Howdy. And obviously the fans loved it. But we know how Saudi is. It's different for the women because it's fucking Saudi. Fuck the Saudi government. Obligatory. It's just, yeah. So Alexa is obviously still going to be in this booking, but she's not defending her title at Crown Jewel. It's more so, like, this portion is more so having to do with Charlotte. And as you will see, and I will elaborate more on this going into the Survivor Series portion of this series, Charlotte going away for a little while, and we'll get to that in the next video when we talk about Survivor Series. Speaking of, after I do part 8 of Survivor Series, which will be later this month, so again, make sure you're subscribed, turn on post notifications so you don't miss out. After that, because the day one show is canceled in real life, I'm not going to book that one because it's not happening. So basically, you go from Survivor Series through the month of December into January to the Royal Rumble. At that point, or at this point in time, once I get past Survivor Series, I can basically do the videos whenever because you're going into 2023 and it's basically finishing out the story at this point. So you go through the Rumble, you go through Elimination Chamber, you get to Mania, and then it's seeing where it all ends up going towards, a year after Alexa won the title to seeing when she loses it. Because inevitably she will. And I will get to all of that when the time comes. But basically after Survivor Series, I'm not going to follow the pay-per-view structure of doing it around the time of each pay-per-view. I'm just going to do it whenever. So, that all being said, we now get into the booking. So, at Extreme Rules, of course, we also got to talk about the Raw Women's title because, yes, I've been giving these updates and I'm going to continue. Liv defends the Raw Women's title in another triple threat match between Bianca and Rhea. That's, of course, how Liv won it in the first place a couple pay-per-views ago. And it's a triple threat ladder match because Extreme Rules. And it's the second match on the show. And Bianca spends much of the match basically trying to just obliterate Liv Morgan because she is pissed off. Beyond pissed off. Not just the fact that she lost the title to Liv without even losing it, but then you look at what happened at Clash in the Castle, the fact that Liv ends up dumping Bianca over the barricade, and then Rhea attacks Bianca, which prevented Bianca from getting back to Liv, and thus gets counted out. Which I think is a creative way of doing a count out, by the way. And of course, as Bianca's doing this to Liv, Rhea's getting involved in the process, so Bianca's got to fight both of them all at the same time. But she's more so focused, but she's more focused on Liv Morgan. And what ends up happening in the end of what I think would be an amazing ladder match between the trio is Liv lures Bianca out of the ring towards the end of the match, sacrificing herself to take a KOD from the EST on the outside, probably on the announce table, like we saw after their Clash in the Castle match, as I mentioned last time. And Rhea scampers up the ladder and grabs the Raw Women's title, winning it. Hence why I made this a ladder match. Nobody gets pinned. Bianca's still pissed off. And Bianca takes her frustrations out on Liv Morgan, hitting her with another KOD, this time on top of some ladders, and then drags her into the ring before stomping, and puts her left ankle in a ladder, stomps on it, and this writes Liv off basically until the Royal Rumble. Of course, if you go all the way back to SummerSlam, Naomi got written off after being attacked by Becky and Bayley. I'll probably have her come back around then, although I'm not really into that portion yet. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, so Liv gets written off at this point. And so now it's down to just Bianca and Rhea moving forward. But I do think that, it's a little better than what we got with Liv as champion in real life, which is not to say that Liv was a bad champion. It's just that she wasn't booked that great under Vince, and then under Triple H, it was getting better, but she did lose the title to Ronda. But as we're seeing right now, she's going a little nuts. So, maybe not Sanity Nikki nuts or Dark Alexa nuts, but her own version of going crazy, basically. So that being said, the story continues. Bianca and Rhea, and you'll see how that turns out when we get to the booking for Survivor Series, looking back at what will be their match at Crown Jewel. So, with all that being said, for Week 1 on SmackDown, Charlotte opens by immediately calling out Alexa regarding the SmackDown Women's title. Flair still wants it back. She's determined to get it back. I beat Becky. I beat Bayley. Now get your ass out here so I can have my long overdue rematch and take back my title. She is dead set on taking her title back. Sasha looks on as she stands in the corner of the ring. Alexa, Bayley, and Becky come out, and Alexa does agree that Charlotte has beaten both of her friends. And she understands where Flair is coming from. However, Bliss declares that Flair won't get a rematch until all have been dealt with. Which, of course, pisses Charlotte off more because she's already beaten Becky and Bayley. So who the fuck else does she have to beat? You'll see. Charlotte demands Sasha to go after Alexa, and Banks walks over the ropes, but she doesn't attack. She exits the ring, walks to the back, and Charlotte confronts Sasha backstage later, pissed off, as Sasha ends up getting put in a match with Bayley the next week. But what's noticeable is the fact that Banks isn't as scared as she had been before, because part of the story is, a huge part of the story is that Sasha was basically forced to team up with Charlotte after Naomi got taken out back at SummerSlam because they both had a common enemy of Alexa, Bayley, and Becky. And Sasha keeps getting her fucking ass kicked by Becky and Bayley, but there's a reason for it. And I think you're starting to see where that's leading to. Basically, you look at the 4 horsewomen. Honestly, who of the other 3 has been screwed over the most by Charlotte? Sasha. I'm gonna be honest, Sasha. So you'll see what happens shortly. So, the following week, SmackDown arrives. By the way, I should also mention it's only a 4-week build. Some of these pay-per-views have had 5-week builds. This one has 4. And then Survivor Series, it's going to be real fucking quick. So we'll get to all of that. But the following week, SmackDown arrives. Sasha faces Bayley with Becky on Bayley's side and Charlotte on Sasha's side, ringside. Charlotte basically commands Sasha through a lot of the match because in Charlotte's mind, she has to tell Sasha what to do because she sees what's happened with Sasha, and Sasha's been out of it. So Charlotte basically, leads her on, only to realize, well, no, you see. And she gets annoyed when Sasha shows any sort of hesitation as well, because there's something there. The hesitation, combined with Charlotte becoming a distraction to Sasha, because Sasha just keeps looking at Charlotte, then looking back at Bayley, and all this other stuff, allows Bayley to win. Charlotte gets even more pissed off with Sasha, but before Charlotte can take out any more frustration, Alexa appears on screen applauding Sasha's performance, which immediately pisses Charlotte off even more. And she just looks at Alexa through the screen and just says, "Don't you dare. Don't even." And Alexa just laughs and replies, "Don't what?" "You seem pretty concerned, Charlotte." Saying so as a way of mocking Flair. There's some other mocking going on. They had trade some barbs, but Charlotte ends up getting attacked from behind by Bayley and Becky, screams at Sasha to help her, and Banks walks away again. And Flair gets interviewed after SmackDown and says that she will get through to Sasha one way or the other. So, finally, week 3 of this portion of the build, we actually have Bayley and Becky facing Indy and Zia in a tag match. It's non-title. It's to get them some action aside from attacking people, because why not? And Charlotte comes out afterward with a kendo stick and attacks Bayley on the outside. Becky's the one that pins probably Indy in the ring. Sasha takes one and ambushes Becky with it in the ring, so it seems like everything's fine. Charlotte then proceeds to take Becky out with natural selection, gets a mic, calls Alexa out. Basically exclaims she's not leaving the ring until she gets her rematch. And then Sasha, because Bayley snuck around the outside and handed Sasha a fresh kendo stick on the ropes behind Charlotte, walks up behind her and starts beating the shit out of Charlotte. Finally, having had enough, not just with getting, treated by Charlotte like she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, even with everything she's been through from the attacks, but also years and years of pent-up frustration just from the shit she's dealt with Charlotte. I mean, look at WrestleMania this year. The big rumor that was out there was Sasha got screwed over because Charlotte wanted to face Ronda. So it should have been Sasha versus Charlotte at Mania for the SmackDown Women's title. Instead, it ended up being Charlotte versus Ronda. And while, yes, Sasha did get her moment with Naomi, finally getting a WrestleMania win and winning the tag titles, we all know what happened afterward. Vince basically said, all right, cool, you guys got your win. Well, now you're going to be champions, but you're doing singles shit. They didn't like that. I've made videos on the topic. Go check those out. Sasha is teasing, though, that there's a date that's coming up that she's been waiting for the last several months. And as a reminder, Survivor Series is in her hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. Coincidence? Maybe. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, there's like even look at last year, after Crown Jewel, the whole Charlotte Becky title swap thing. Remember, an underrated part of that was that Sasha came out afterward to the ring, got on the mic, and then Charlotte took attention away from her. So, and that's just like recent examples. I would imagine there's a bunch more. Like Sasha, she's hardly ever been able to defend a title. There was the whole hot potatoing between her and Charlotte back in 2016, when there were times where Charlotte probably should have won in defense of her belt. Like, I mean, come on. Sasha's got a lot of aggression she needs to let out, basically from Charlotte just being Charlotte. And finally, it happens. Bayley and Becky join Sasha in the attack. The lights go out. They come back up, and Alexa stands there with mic in hand, belt around her waist, Lily in the other hand, because I don't mention Lily a lot, but she's obviously there. And she stands over Charlotte's prone body. At Crown Jewel, you, Charlotte Flair, will be facing Sasha Banks if you want a chance at my title again. You've been begging and begging, yet you fail to understand the I run thing around here. I hold the throne that you hold so dear, and you are nothing when you're not being pushed harder than anyone else in the women's locker room, when you're not being pushed more than some of these other talents should be. You may be the daughter of a Flair, but without that name, without a belt around your waist, you are nothing. I asked you this very question last year. I asked the WWE Universe this question last year going into Extreme Rules. What would Charlotte Flair be without a title? And you've answered that question ever since I beat you. You're nothing but someone who can't get out of the spotlight, because when you do, you become nothing. And I want to make it clear, the way she's delivering this promo, legitimately, it brings back vibes of the goddess Alexa days. And I don't think I've mentioned that a lot, is when it comes to these promos, it's sometimes she talks more like the goddess, and other times she talks more like their Dark Alexa self. That came as, from letting the Fiend in. It's a back and forth, but as things go along, it becomes more and more. It's basically what I would call the Dark Goddess, but it becomes more and more Dark Alexa as time goes on, and you will see that in future videos. But as I said, she lets this promo out. Then she lets out her evil laugh, drops the mic on Charlotte, steps over Charlotte, and walks off with Becky, Bayley, and now Sasha. So, week 4, the final week before Crown Jewel. This is, of course, pre-taped because Crown Jewel is on Saturday. So this would be filmed after SmackDown the previous Friday. You don't see them in the ring. It's what you get is a video package of Sasha with Alexa, Becky, and Bayley being asked about her turning on Charlotte, with Banks basically equating it to being sick and tired of playing second fiddle to Flair, being tired of getting screwed over by Flair, and just being sick and tired of Charlotte getting the spotlight all the time. Because let's be honest here, Sasha's literally been a part of some of the biggest moments in Western women's wrestling, not just in WWE, but also NXT. Obviously, the Iron Women match with Bayley. She was part of the triple threat match when the women's title was unveiled, ditching the Divas title at WrestleMania. The first women's Hell in a Cell with Charlotte, funny enough. Tag team elimination chamber with Bayley, and all this other stuff. It's crazy. Like, she's been a part of some of these big moments, and yet WWE, in a nutshell, mostly because of Vince, they treat her as second best to Charlotte, because in Vince's mind, it's Charlotte, everybody else. So Sasha's finally putting up all that pent-up aggression into something, that something being kicking the shit out of Charlotte. And she says that she will put Flair in her place and put her away for good. So we get to Crown Jewel. And I'm going to be honest with you. Charlotte, you're fucked. Because what this match is, and it's right before the main event, and if this were to happen in real life, I feel like fans would be pissed, but hear me out. Essentially, this is an 8 to 9 minute squash match, almost squash match, because Charlotte does get in some offense, but it's mostly Sasha annihilating the shit out of Flair. Flair does try to fight back, as I said, and she does at times, but Sasha constantly overpowers her, utilizing her pent-up frustration, anger towards Flair to her advantage. It's crazy. Because, again, it's something that Charlotte is not expecting. It's not something she was prepared for, to deal with this ball of fire that Sasha has become. And she gets her ass kicked. Like, this might be the worst loss Charlotte's had. And it's maybe aside from the fact that her main roster debut, while still being NXT Women's Champion, was a loss to fucking Natalya. Yeah, remember that? But yeah, no, like, in the context of the story, this makes sense. And it's not like a 4 to 5 minute squash like you probably would see, in like the mid 2000s or whatever, or even early 2010s. It's 8 to 9 minutes of Sasha beating the shit out of Charlotte. Couple times, Charlotte thinks she can get the upper hand, and Sasha's like, nope, fuck you, get your ass back down. After the match, Charlotte is carried out by Sasha, Becky, and Bayley, and Alexa is shown watching from back here in the States, title over her shoulder, Lily in her lap, awaiting the return of her friends and Charlotte, a devilish smile on her face, enjoying what she has seen. Sasha has gone full dark side. So, with that being said, this now, of course, leads into Survivor Series War Games. And that's gonna be fun. I cannot wait to book how this women's War Games match is gonna go. Ooh, baby. But with that being said, what happens to Charlotte from here? You'll see next time. So, with all of that being said, once again, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on future videos and streams. Make sure to use code ANJJ for $5 off on orders of $30 more at Circle B Diecast. I will catch y'all next time. Peace.